The Royal Rumble is just a day away, and you'd think with the week going into this first Big 4 pay-per-view of the year that Vince McMahon and co would take it easy. Unfortunately, he has no idea what that means, as we had Raw's 25th anniversary, a SmackDown that was highly anticipated and ready to go for the big pay-per-view itself, the Enzo Amore scandal, and the revival of the XFL. There is a lot to talk about this week on Wrestling Rant, including my Royal Rumble predictions. This is one you do not want to miss. We kick things off, unsurprisingly, with the Enzo Amore rape allegations scandal, which he was suspended and then subsequently fired for. Now, the wrestling fandom seems to turn themselves into investigators and professors of law every single time a police case like this happens involving a wrestler. They did it with Mike Elgin, they did it with Rich Swann, and now they've done it with Enzo. But the Enzo situation reads a little more interesting because he wasn't fired for the allegations being true, because you wouldn't fire someone a day after suspending them. Because yeah, I understand that some people are thinking, what about innocent until proven guilty? If he is found not guilty or the charges are dismissed, Enzo is fine. Or so you'd think, because he broke a morality clause in his contract, which highlights, if you don't know, that if something happens and it could intentionally cause a prison sentence or cause law breaking to happen of a serious scale, WWE must be told about it to ensure that if it damages the wrestler or them themselves, they should understand and take the appropriate action, which they did in suspending the man. Unfortunately, Enzo had not disclosed to WWE that this was indeed a possibility, that these allegations and a police investigation have been happening since October. He didn't tell them, which means WWE thought, oh, what the hell, if we can't trust you to tell us about your indiscretions, we can't trust you for anything, and cut him loose. It's with that time where even though if he is found not guilty, sympathy cannot be found with Enzo Amore, because seriously, if you hired him to an independent wrestling show after this, if he is found not guilty, would you trust him? Hell no. Because would you think he'd be able to pay the fees, or make sure the money's all good, and actually turn up? Because if he isn't disclosing allegations of rape to a multi-billion-dollar company, then he is going to have serious problems. Now Enzo, if you are found not guilty and charges are dismissed because some things do look a little sketchy, I won't go into it, the fact is, that's okay. But I feel a lot of respect has been lost for you because you made a stupid decision. A really stupid decision. In fact, such a stupid decision that when they fired you, they didn't even include a "we wish him well in his future endeavours" on the form. So, it takes doing something quite scummy for WWE to not actually give a crap about your future. So, yeah, Enzo, you may or may not be found not guilty or have your charge dismissed in the future, which will clean you of any wrongdoing, of course. But like I said, people are not going to trust you going forward knowing that this has come to light. Good God almighty, this story could get worse, or it could get marginally better in the future. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens as this now former WWE wrestler gets used to life out of the spotlight. And you can't teach that. Indeed, you cannot. Now, before we get on to the Raw 25 analysis, I have to mention something about the XFL, because if you told me 5 or 6 years ago that the XFL would be returning, I would probably tell you to go get your head checked, because that is insane. Now, the XFL, we don't know what it's going to look like, if it's going to be anything similar to what happened in 2001. All I know is, if it turns out to be okay as a watching experience, I think it shouldn't be a problem. Then again, Vince McMahon saying that football games that are over 3 hours long are boring is the most hypocritical thing in the history of known existence, given that Monday Night Raw is 3 hours and most of us hate that. If I ever wanted a contender for the El Stupido Award this early on in the year, I think I've got it right here. That's a soundbite we're going to use to ram home our problems with WWE's product till the cows come home. Good God. Vince, it was going so well until you just made us all infuriated. Oh well, it's what you've been doing for the last 20-something years, so I really shouldn't be giving you any credit for anything at this point. Finally, after all that preamble, I can talk about Raw 25, but before I do, I have to get a massive weight off of my chest, because ladies and gentlemen, if you may not be aware, I watch Raw and SmackDown for what goes on in the current day, and how the narratives and storylines influence the quality of what happens on pay-per-view come the end of the month. So logically, this kind of nostalgia fest is not to my liking, because a lot of the segments have no real impact on any of it. So it means I'm watching through a 3-hour Raw, not really caring for too much of it, which meant that when it came to this review, I had to trim all of that nostalgic fat that I didn't care about and give pretty much all of it a strike unilaterally, because this Raw was shit for a person like me, because I didn't get what I wanted from this show. Although, to be honest, that being said, I didn't get much. The Manhattan Center got shafted. You paid $400 to $800 for a ticket, and all you got was 2 disappointing matches, 2 205 dark matches, and an Undertaker promo. Good God, I would feel royally pissed off. I would want refunds out the ass for that kind of treatment. And I feel sorry for all of you who went along to this. That being said though, I got to watch it on my television and fast forward through what the hell I thought was meaningless, pointless drivel, which turned out to be 2/3 of the freaking show. The good thing is, I've managed to resurrect what I could find of the show to give you some analysis. However, that being said, like I noted, it kicks off with a strike without anything really happening, so that doesn't bode well for the whole show's overall grade, does it? And speaking of nostalgia, we have to kick off with, well, one of only a couple of nostalgic things I found positive all evening, and that was the Austin McMahon segment, because of course it had to be. Austin stunning McMahons after, obviously, Vince went heel on the crowd, and it was just a joyous reminder of the greatest Raw storyline of the last 25 years, and I've got to say, even for a person like me who said, oh, I was going in only for the current storylines, this was one of the few times I thought, you know what, I can let it slide, because this was just pure fun. The rest of the night turned into absolute cringe in almost immediate circumstance, but this, I can let everything go, because Austin McMahon, along with the stuff on SmackDown in 2002 to 2003, is what got me into wrestling in the first place. So again, McMahon and Austin, I can let that go. As for the rest of it, well, you'll know I've already given a strike for 2/3 of it. There are a couple of things I do want to talk about, but they're coming up later on in this review. First up, we have the big match of the evening, I joke, because it's only in numerical value. It's a women's multi-tag match. 8 women, 4 teams. We've seen multi-women tag matches so often that I want to punch whoever books this crap every week. The fact is, though, it did have something good come out of it, and that was Asuka showcasing her dominance after the faces got the victory by throwing all of them out. That's the heels and the faces. So yeah, every woman for herself, she looks dominant as all hell, it is great. However, Wrestling 101 will dictate if you are the dominant wrestler coming out of a go-home show, you are not going to win on the Sunday. Now, obviously, that can change. There are things to buck that convention. But at the same time, I don't think Asuka's going to win the damn Rumble, knowing this is a thing. Overall, though, the segment was probably going to get a strike if it wasn't for that ending, because that was pretty damn sweet. Then we get on to the real big match of the evening, happening within the first hour or so. Going into the second, if I'm not mistaken, and that was Roman Reigns versus The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, considering the hype that this match had, I was expecting it to, oh, I don't know, go a little longer and be more intense, but considering how bloated this show was, a 12-minute match was not a problem. The Miz Taraj ended up getting involved and was somewhat useful. The Miz got a solid win off of dirty tactics, meaning a rematch down the line has some weight to it. It all worked out quite nicely, and overall, the match was pretty good. And Reigns looked good, Miz looked good, the whole match was pretty solid. I liked it. And we got a new champion, which makes Miz only one reign behind tying Jericho's all-time record. So that's a good thing, right? Overall, though, I wonder what that means for WrestleMania, because that may think that Roman Reigns is going to enter the Rumble and win it. A lot of people don't want that to happen, including myself. You'll find out why later. But if they book it right, Reigns can be in the Rumble and not do much. And that'll be fun for all of us. As we now move on to the other bit of nostalgia that I liked on this show, and that was Christian's appearance, followed up by a peep show segment with Jordan, Rollins and The Bar. Now this was quite fantastic because Jordan got the most nuclear heat imaginable, and it was really nice to see that when he does turn heel, people are going to boo the crap out of him, and it's going to be beautiful. And it amped up the frictions between him and Rollins, which is all well and good. The Bar came out and caused a flying knee to Jordan's face through distractions and brawling, and it made the build for this match look like it's reached its zenith. So hopefully, come Sunday, this match will deliver something fun and hopefully some excitement. Because this feud, people thought at the minute when it happened after Dean Ambrose's injury wasn't going to be anything special. It's one of the most enthralling things on Raw, so I'll give Jason Jordan, Rollins and The Bar some credit. I'm intrigued in a tag team title match that I wouldn't have thought I would have been going in, so let's hope you can make the match good on Sunday, then you'll be in good equity. We then follow up with the first big, and actually the only big piece of news we got out of the Manhattan Center, the Undertaker promo segment. Now, what did this mean? Him appearing on Monday Night Raw's 25th anniversary, saying that he's buried all sorts of opponents over the years, and it's now time for them to rest in peace. Does he mean that he is retiring the gimmick? Is it him retiring overall? Was it him sending out a warning to others that I've buried all of these people and whoever I choose is going to be next? It's really confusing. I personally think he's retired, but if he is coming back, he's going to appear in the damn Rumble either as the American Badass, because that would be the best thing, to shed the gimmick entirely and just be Undertaker in name alone and kick someone's ass, or he's just not going to be there at all. I would rather have him not fight at WrestleMania, but you know WWE, they can throw a couple of million at the guy, because the number is so crazy even I can't say it, and he'll probably do it anyway. Fact is though, if they put some good matches on Mania, anything's possible. All I can say is that it was a minute long and the Manhattan Center was not happy with that. Speaking of stuff they were not happy about, because okay, the promo segment was fine, Taker delivered it well, I'm not giving that a strike. As you may have noted, I haven't given a strike for anything thus far after trimming all the fat, so logically it should be a decent show, but you'd be mistaken after Bray Wyatt faced broken/woken Matt in a match that lasted all but 5 minutes. Really? You rushed this? Are you kidding me? I thought you were going to go for a slow burning, building aesthetic of this entire feud where it was going to blow off in a massive match. And they were going to use the Rumble to set up a confrontation, then they have a pay-per-view wrestling contest, and then by WrestleMania it descends into absolute insanity. Like, I was looking forward to all of this. And yet all I get is a 5-minute match just before the Rumble. What is this? It's stupid, and it is ridiculous. The Manhattan Center, no wonder you're pissed, because you got this when it really wasn't needed. And it gets the second strike of the evening. I was really looking forward to seeing where WWE were going to go with this, and they wasted something fun and interesting that they could have easily done on the show, and instead they just blew this off before it even had the chance to go anywhere. Which means if they do meet up in the Rumble, it won't have the same bloody impact. WWE, you had a really bloated show, and this proves that you can't just shove everything in and hope it works. You need cohesion. But speaking of something a little more fun, Elias and John Cena had a segment, which of course due to Samoa Joe's injury shows where he would have been on this show. Now, okay, I would have given the Elias song a strike despite it being one of the best ones he's done yet. I did listen to it, it wasn't bad, but John Cena coming out and instigating a fight which landed him with a guitar to the back of the head leads me to be very intrigued indeed. It could be good for Elias' growth as a character, it could lead to bigger things overall, so in a way, I can't say anything too bad about that segment except for the fact that it should have been Samoa Joe's. Hopefully Joe is in the Rumble. Hopefully the injury isn't too bad, but you know, anything's possible. If he comes back and kicks the crap out of everybody post-Rumble, then I'll be happy. If he ends up not making it to Mania at all, I'll be really saddened. All in all, this Cena-Elias segment may have seemed a bit inauspicious and a bit unnecessary, but if it serves a purpose for building Elias in the long run, I will give that a thumbs up any day of the freaking week. And we then go on to another bit of nostalgia that I can say here, the Dudley Boyz coming out during a no contest between Rhino and Slater and Titus Worldwide. Now, I wouldn't have given the no contest a strike if it just stood up on its own, but it's these situations surrounding the Dudleys' interference and subsequent putting of Heath Slater through a table that keeps me intrigued, because Rhino told him to go in there and take it like a man to toughen him up, while he just stood alongside and watched. I'm sorry, that is fantastic building of potential fractions between the two former tag team champions. Because if Heath Slater says to him after the Rumble, you know what, you're not looking at my health or my benefit, you're just watching me getting my ass kicked every week and loving it, it'll build for a storyline that will fill up Raw's pay-per-views in the next couple of months, and that should be great. See, a segment like that would easily flop had just enough going into it to make me happy. It may have been small, but I'll take that over anything bad any day of the freaking week. But that is not a lot to say when the next thing I talk about is the final straw. The DX promo, the Bala Club versus the Revival, and the squash match that took place. I said last week that the Revival, I was worrying about them because they were going to go into this show and get beaten up. They did. And it looked terrible. Now I understand that you may say that it's going to build the Bala Club up and they're with the actual clique and DX and the NWO members and it's all good for them, but what about the Revival? The match did nothing to highlight much for the Bala Club, and it didn't follow on from the bloody concussion curb stomp thing that happened at the end of last week's show that closed off on a groggy showcase of Finn Balor's face. We got no follow-up to that, and that's what annoys me much. So this segment made the Revival look weak, even though they've got the ability to easily showcase themselves and fight back, in my honest opinion, but it also didn't help the Bala Club either. So this segment didn't do anything at all other than massage the clique's ego. So you know what that means. It's a final strike, and with 3 across the board, it is done. Raw is finished. Now you may be saying to me, well hold on a second Fred, 3 strikes going into the last segment of the 3rd hour? That must be amazing. Remember, I cut out pretty much an hour and a half of rubbish crap nostalgia. Now of course it was great to see Eric Bischoff and a few others, but this show was rubbish for me. Because there was a couple of nice segments and 1 or 2 matches that I liked, but everything else pretty much stunk. And you go to the final segment, which really doesn't make my hopes go up any higher, Strowman, Kane and Lesnar. Everybody came up to guard them from attacking each other, Strowman decimated everybody, and that's it. The segment was flat. I would have given it a strike anyway, regardless of the fact that you have a bloody front power slam table spot there, but it was just bad. This show was not good, ladies and gentlemen, which means SmackDown, you have the ability to fight back screaming and claim this week as yours. Let's hope you don't make as many mistakes, or we could be in for something interesting. We kick things off on the blue brand with an AJ Styles, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in-ring promo. Now, AJ Styles' contribution to this segment was surprisingly stilted and flat, and quite mundane actually. The fact is, this entire segment was run by and stolen with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn's intense, simple and driven mic work. Because my god, it was fun to watch them say all these things and round them home with legitimacy. On top of that, the crowd booed them. They are heels being booed. This is a thing you don't often see nowadays. This is a lot of fun. Also, speaking of a lot of fun, Sami Zayn, everyone. His heel attitude is so enjoyable because he knows he's being a dick and cannot stop smiling about it. That is lovely. On top of that, I never thought that El Generico, the man formerly known as El Generico, would ever turn heel and be so bloody good at it. He is so smarmy and cocksure and just so full of himself that I just cannot stop hating him while also loving him for how genius it is. And Kevin Owens did his usual shtick, which I love anyway, but also love that the crowd hated it. That's the beauty of it. Now, Daniel Bryan made a match. Well, I say he made a match. AJ Styles accepted it regardless of that, and it was also based entirely on what he said in promo segments a couple of weeks ago. Narrative storytelling, I love you! And that's the thing. This segment may have drawn out quite a long time, and it was starting to get on my nerves, but there were so much good things in it that I couldn't find much to complain about other than its length. Which is great, and it leads on to the next segment, which was definitely followed on, Shane and Bryan doing a simple promo highlighting how vindictive Shane is and how he is willing to potentially ruin all this and really highlight that the final barb is being stuck in on this feud. It's ready to explode. It is a nail bomb waiting to impale us. And boy oh boy, I cannot wait for this one, because at the Rumble or on the SmackDown afterwards, we are going to see fireworks. And it is going to be beautiful to see how that turns out. You see, that's the thing I like about SmackDown. It's underwhelmed over the last couple of weeks, but when it comes to a go-home show, they are ramping up the anticipation, and I am in love with them for it. It's going to be a lot of fun, I can say that for sure. And speaking of what was a lot of fun, we had Jey Uso facing off against Chad Gable. Now, before we get to the actual match, Greg Hamilton called Jimmy Jey while calling Jey Jey when he walked to the ring. So even he can't tell which Uso is which. It's absolutely awesome, and I love that. The thing is though, what I loved even more was this really quick but fast, intense athletic contest that these two dynamos could easily put on, and it was just so well wrestled. I don't care that Gable won, which implicates that Wrestling 101 will stop him from winning the damn titles on Sunday, but seriously, Chad Gable is money. If he improves his mic work, tweaks his personality just a little tad, he is going to make WWE a whole lot of moolah, because I can see him as a future WWE champion within the next 5 years. Mark my word, if he isn't WWE champion, you have right to punch me in the face. Oh god, I hope I don't regret that in the future. Oh good lord. Either way, Chad Gable, the future of my face rests on the future of your wrestling career. Let's hope that doesn't mess up, or I'm going to be waking up with a massive shiner in the future. I am not looking forward to that, unlike most things on this show. And speaking of things that got me unusually excited for a match I normally wouldn't care about in the slightest, we had a Renee Young, Shinsegae Nakamura, Baron Corbin segment hyping up the Royal Rumble, and whoever, like I say every single time it happens, decided to take Nakamura's mouthguard out was a brilliant decision, because Nakamura has charisma oozing out of such little. The phrase knee to the face got such a reaction that logically WWE are going to make a t-shirt out of it. And he got me hyped by literally doing nothing other than that and saying, we're going to fight in the ring tonight. And it's like, god damn it, you charismatic motherfucker. It's so good. And Corbin didn't do bad either, because his usual spiel outlining his bullish and selfish and degrading personality against the fans was awesome, as it usually is if given the right time. The segment was good and we got a match to look forward to. SmackDown is hitting everything on all cylinders here. What could possibly go wrong? A repeat of the phone segments from last week? Oh, that's one thing that could do it. Ty Dillinger though, well, he made it work because, well, not much has happened with him, and he was likeable and awkward and highlighting he wants to go in the Rumble at number 10, and, well, make it a perfect 10, because he's holding a bloody selfie stick, he has to do that twice. It was quite endearing and lovely. It wasn't cringy like most of last week's were, which proves that if WWE put some stock behind Ty Dillinger, again, another guy who could make money. Now, obviously not a WWE champion unless you built it up over a decades-long return, but you know what I mean. It could be something interesting. I really would like to see Dillinger do well in this year's Rumble. Hell, if he's the Iron Man going from beginning to end, that would make it even better. I'm getting ahead of myself, though. I still have the rest of SmackDown to get to before the Rumble predictions come through, and my joy did not manage to carry over into the second hour, just about, as Naomi took on Liv Morgan in a very short matchup. Now, the fact is, I liked Naomi with her athletic and aggressive stance on things, knowing what she's had to deal with the Riot Club. It made sense story-wise. Unfortunately, though, that isn't the reason I hate this segment. In fact, I hated what happened afterwards so much that I'm giving it a strike. Because we saw what happened with Becky Lynch happen with Asuka on Raw. She threw out all the faces and was about to chuck, God damn it, Naomi, or was it Natalya? I don't remember anymore, out of the ring and was going to replicate what happened with Asuka. And, oh god, and everyone was surrounding the ring, and it just descended into a brawl like it's done every week. The segment served no purpose. If it's unoriginal and just basically repeated the same things we've seen week to week on top of that. Overall, the match was alright, if I'm going to be very, very lenient, but that ending, that entire aftermath, is the reason this doesn't sit well with me, and a SmackDown that was doing really well up until this point hit a stumbling block. Let's hope it doesn't go anywhere else downhill. And thankfully the next segment didn't, as Nakamura took on Corbin in a very aggressive, fun contest. I keep saying aggression, athletic and fun, but that's what wrestling is. And this was a brilliant match, which was amplified by the best DQ finish I have ever seen in a wrestling contest, with an RKO literally out of nowhere. He flew in from off the camera and hit the damn thing. It was framed to perfection. Good God, that's up there with one of the best RKOs that Orton has ever done, and he then hit Corbin with one and stood up there posing, which of course means that Wrestling 101 will dictate that Orton's not winning the Rumble, and that is fine by me. All in all though, like I said, this is the best DQ finish to a match ever because it got me pumped. I never usually say this, but DQ finishes are pretty bad if executed poorly, which they are most of the time. The fact is, this one I didn't see coming. I was left cheering afterwards, which means this did its damn job. The match was great on its own, and then this just made it better. Again, this SmackDown is doing exactly what Raw didn't. And I am looking forward to seeing how the rest of this show goes on, because we're reaching its end. It looks like it's going to be really good with one strike on the board. It's going to be amazing, isn't it? And SmackDown will win its first week since this show came back. Unfortunately, it has to get another strike for the squash match that was the Roode, New Day, Rusev, English and Mahal six-man tag. Now, what happened before it, with the mic work and the nervousness around the word definitions of what the title reign of the US champion is going to be, was awesome. And it makes me want to see Roode teaming with the New Day as an official member, because even though that will degrade his aura, that'll be the funniest thing I'm going to see every damn week. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. That was the last bit of joy I got, because this match went by in a flash and it put down 3 men at once. Not good, and it proves WWE do not like Rusev Day getting over, because it wasn't their creation. Give Rusev some slack. Last year was terrible for him. I want this year to be amazing, and Rusev Day is over and it's beautiful. Please, give me something to love about this, but no. And also, Tom Phillips. No one else is calling them Rusev Day as a team, okay? Even Greg Hamilton didn't do that. So why are you trying to shoehorn this down our throats? We know you're not Michael Cole, so stop trying to be him. God. Anyway, we finally reached the last segment of the evening, which was the 2 matches in one night between AJ Styles, Owens and Sami Zayn. Now, obviously noting Shane's interference at the beginning before the match could even do anything, that if either man did come in to ruin the contest, they'd lose their championship match and be fired, which made him look even more of an incentive dick. It was brilliant. Then we got to the matches themselves. Kevin Owens' one didn't last very long, and I would have probably given it a strike if I was ever analysing them separately, but Sami Zayn put on a great contest with AJ Styles, and he won off a Blue Thunderbomb, which never happens, which is lovely. Not to mention the aggressive side of Sami was beautifully orchestrated, because again, people look at Kevin Owens and think, yeah, he's the domineering one here, in this feud, in this entire tandem. Sami isn't really there except to be window dressing. Proved itself completely wrong in this one, as he showcased his heel, aggressive, in-ring persona. And that was great. That's the thing, people wouldn't have taken Sami Zayn seriously in this match. He's a dark horse, they'd say. Now, he's the one thing that could surprise AJ Styles. On top of that, Styles himself showed he didn't give 2 fucks about Kevin Owens and attacked him on and around the ringside area and the stretcher to prove that he really hates these guys, meaning this match has all the venom it needs to be something awesome at the Rumble. And you see, it ended with the heels winning, which again means Wrestling 101 will dictate that there's no title change, but like I've said, anything's possible. These could all be ruses. Just suspending our disbelief a little bit. All in all though, SmackDown, you did well this week. You may have gotten 2 strikes for 2 segments that you could have, or actually I say matches, you could have easily done without. Or maybe you just had one that was bad and then had a lot of segments for the women doing something else. But the fact is, you did a lot better than Raw this week. And that means, in my honest opinion, you win this week, but we will define that outright once I'm done with my Rumble predictions. Originally, when these matches started being announced, I was quite worried that this Rumble pay-per-view would not have a lot for me to shout about, but after the build has slowly been getting me excited, I am looking forward to this show. Quite a bit. Now, of course, we don't know what the pre-show match is at this point. Well, then again, between me recording this and it going up on the Saturday, there could be a change. There could be a pre-show match announced. Of course, Enzo versus Cedric was going to happen, but obviously it's not now. So, what is going to be on the pre-show, ladies and gentlemen? I'm hoping it's Rich Swann versus Cedric Alexander in a match between the 2 rightful #1 contenders for the Cruiserweight belt. That's the one match I want, and if I was going to say anything, I'd predict Cedric to win based on how the build was going before Enzo got axed. So, if that ends up being the match in question, give me a thumbs up down there, because it'll be worth it. Now, on to the matches we actually know about. The 2 out of 3 Falls match for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. I have Gable and Benjamin to win this one simply because of the momentum going into it. Not to mention one of the Usos getting a DUI. Last time someone got done with a DUI going into a title match of any kind, aka Jack Swagger, he didn't get the title. Or, in the case of some people, lose it. Look what happened with the suspension that happened after Roman Reigns got done for whatever happened to him. So, you see my point. I feel Gable and Benjamin need the belts to keep this entire the tag titles thing going, because then they can go on about it for ages and the Usos get more aggressive, leading to a massive, violent match at the next SmackDown pay-per-view given a few more weeks of build, which is exactly what we need. And overall, it'll be good to see Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable with gold around their waists once again. Speaking of tag team titles though, the Raw tag team title match between Jason Jordan, Seth Rollins and The Bar has a little more interesting thing about it, but it also is slightly more predictable because what is happening between Jordan and Rollins cannot be sustained with them holding on to the titles. They have to lose to The Bar. They have to. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. The feud is building for an eventual problem to come up in that title match, and they'll lose it, which then causes Seth Rollins to freak at Jordan, or Jordan to freak at Rollins, which causes the heel turn to actually happen. So logically, you could have The Bar win here and accelerate that happening towards the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, but you could also wait for it to happen during the Chamber itself. meaning you could have them retain and it wouldn't be a massive problem, but knowing that the 2 title matches, I don't think there are going to be any changes on. You need to have some, and for both tag titles to change hands in 2 well-fought and well-done matches will be good for the night as a whole. And that's fantastic for all of us. Now, speaking of those title matches, the WWE Championship Handicap match, I believe is AJ Styles for the win, because I believe, as many do, that Shane McMahon will interfere and cause some shenanigans. Now, that may not happen at all, and AJ Styles may put on the fight back of the freaking century, but that's all I can really say right now, because I just want to see how this goes down and be enthralled by what we could potentially see. Now, Kevin Owens and AJ Styles on their own didn't manage to deliver anything special over their pay-per-view offerings for most of the last year, so hopefully with inserting a faster and quicker Sami Zayn into perspective, it could be something good. Hopefully it's better than what? The 2.5 star I gave their best match? Actually, I gave the 4.5 star to their SummerSlam match, so if it reaches up to that level, I'm going to be really happy. But overall, AJ Styles is going to retain because he is going to go to WrestleMania, and that's going to be something fun to see in person in the Superdome. I cannot say anything more than that. And speaking of the other triple threat match for the Universal Championship, I want Strowman to win this so bad. But after what happened at the end of Raw, Wrestling 101 will dictate, like I've said throughout this entire freaking show, that it doesn't look like he's going to. But the thing is, if Kane eats the pin and Lesnar wins, while Strowman still looks like an absolute badass, I will be fine. Just as long as Lesnar's opponent is not as predictable as what we have in mind, aka Roman Reigns. Then again, Reigns and Lesnar put on a great match at WrestleMania a few years ago, so what's to stop it from going anywhere near that again the next time round? Because predictability is the worst thing in wrestling, and I logically hate it, so I would then find a problem with that. That's the thing though, WWE. Giving the title to Strowman will make things a hell of a lot more interesting coming into WrestleMania. Unfortunately, I don't see you doing that. Therefore, the Beast is going to retain the championship and hold on to it for a year. Just give me a champion that we can all just see on the show each week. Now we go on to the Rumble matches. First, the women. I have noted many times that I want Nia Jax to win going into this show because, seriously, her versus Alexa Bliss is building, and to have her win the Rumble and terrify Alexa, knowing that, why did you do that? We're friends. We shouldn't be like, no, every woman for herself. And okay, Enzo's been taken out of the mix of the story completely, so will the story still have the same weight? Yes, because Alexa has been teasing, insulting, and outright degrading Nia every chance she got, even if she may have just done it fleetingly, and gotten her into a lot of problems. That sets the story up when you even take the Enzo factor out of it. It's building to an explosive story and a fully fledged face turn for Nia, and that's what we want. That's what happens. The feud makes sense for Nia to dominate and be the big winner out of this Rumble, but oh boy, we have the question of Ronda Rousey. Now, of course, she came out in a video denying that she'd even signed a contract yet and that she wouldn't be in the Rumble, but you know these things happen. People don't believe it. She's going to appear in the Rumble anyway, but I often pick a second wheel just so my Rumble pick doesn't lose too much steam, and I would go for Rousey because seeing a free agent win a Rumble for the first time ever would be amazing, even though we know predictably where it's going to go, which is a little sad. Then again, I am sticking with my pick. I don't care how important Ronda Rousey winning would be. I want to see Nia Jax win, and it makes the most logical sense given the feud. And also, those of you who are asking, Asuka's undefeated streak will still be intact once the night is over because she hasn't been pinned and she hasn't tapped. There we go, that's tied that mess up. As we look at the final match, the Men's Rumble. Now, considering Rumbles past, I've often highlighted that I pick multiple people so I can highlight that a winner has been my choice, and that's all well and good. However, since last year when none of my picks won it, that system has completely died on its feet, and I am now going back to just picking one solitary winner. and that is Shinsegae Nakamura, because seriously, I want Nakamura versus Styles in the Superdome, in the flesh, so I can see it happen and watch the majesty come before it. Because 30 minutes of these two kicking the crap out of each other for the biggest prize in the game is going to be all sorts of fun. And that is something great. But then again, if I try to think of who else could win this thing, no one else springs to mind because half the field hasn't even been announced yet. But like I said, if you have a Roman Reigns or a Ty Dillinger do an Iron Man throughout but not eventually win it, that could build the latter and make people not end up booing the former out of the building, it'll be worth doing. If John Cena wins, then oh dear God. On top of that, if someone else wins, Lord knows what's going to happen, it'll be a lovely surprise. As for the rumours of Dolph Ziggler winning it, as for the rumours of Daniel Bryan winning it, I don't know, and I don't want to comment because they sound a bit too ludicrous for my own liking. All in all, I want the King of Strong Style to be the King of the Rumble this year, and hopefully the King of WrestleMania by the time April is in our books. Then again, a man can dream and I may get things entirely wrong, but that's the beauty about these predictions, you never know what's going to happen. So, in closing, after all is said and done, after what has been quite an insane wrestling week, who won? Well, it's obvious. I mentioned at the end of the SmackDown part that there is no real doubt that they won this week, because Raw served off a nostalgic turd on a plate. It had a couple of things that were really nice, but everything else just didn't work for me. Everyone else may say, oh, Raw 25 was lovely, because I love the nostalgia. But if you wanted to watch the stuff that I watch, the current day product, it didn't do much for you at all, which is why when SmackDown had that opportunity, saw it, and seized it to put on one of the best SmackDowns of the year thus far, in fact was the best SmackDown of the year thus far, then I have no real complaints, and I'm looking forward going into the Royal Rumble, my hopes are a lot higher than they would have been otherwise. So hopefully, come Tuesday, when I put out my review of that show, all will be good, and we'll have a show that will hopefully equal last year's 6 to 7 out of 10 that I gave. It should be great. Please note the emphasis on should be, because, you know, things can go wrong. We've seen pay-per-views with cards that look amazing completely fall flat. And Lord be told, if that happens with the matches we have on show here, I am not going to be pleased. And again, anything can happen in wrestling, so I shouldn't be this confident. And again, I am called the Wrestling Optimist for a bloody reason. Let's get on to Philadelphia, let's watch NXT TakeOver the night before, let's go into the Rumble and see how the route and road to WrestleMania has been paved and laid out. It should be exciting indeed, and if you do not want to miss the pay-per-view review of the Royal Rumble, then you have to click the subscribe button down there to ensure nothing is missed. And of course, click those bell icons as well, just in case you haven't been receiving any videos in your subscriber feed, because it'll mean you do not miss a thing. I have been Freddie Thomas, you've been people watching, this has been another edition of Wrestling Rant for the CC Network. I will see you all next time.